Hello beautiful souls, Kim Crystal here, and it has been so long since I've seen you last. It feels like ages. So I hope you guys are all doing okay with the current pandemic that's going on, and that you are all safe during the COVID-19. And in today's masterclass video, I thought I would touch base on, before we go right into actually making the dream catchers too in depth. So I have an illustration here of how I use the dream catcher in a symbolic way. So this isn't a rule book, this is just the way I use it and how I convey my teachings into hoop medicine and into dream catcher medicine. So I will start on the side. So when we have a dream catcher, the basis of a dream catcher is having a hoop and having a web in the center. So the hoop is what I call the hoop of life, and then you have the web, and I call that the web of life. And then you also have a feather that usually hangs from the center. So this isn't how a dream catcher looks, this is just the way I convey teachings through my dream catcher medicine. So when we start with hoop medicine in a dream catcher, every hoop is symbolic of the 4 directions. So usually you start to the east. So the east is like the dawn of teachings. So in the east you have the student, you begin with your mental, like your mind, and the animal is represented of the eagle, and that's springtime, and the element for the east is fire. The herb is tobacco, and it's representative of the child. Okay. So then we go on to the south. So the south is red, and red can represent a few different things, but it's mostly to do with emotion, your physical body, and the spirit animal is the wolf and deer, or elk, as you would call it in some parts. And the herb or the plant medicine for the south is cedar, and that's for when you are in your adolescent stage. Then you go on to the edge, onto the bottom right of the dream catcher, and that is black or dark blue. So that's the color that represents it, and that's your adult stage of life. So that spirit animal is like the bear, and that's sage is the medicine plant for the west, and that's kind of the stage where you go through your teacher phase, your parent phase, and it's more representing the physical world. Then once you go on to the top right, you get to the north. So that's symbolic for white, so that's for elders, and you can do your hoop kind of, you just like, okay, in a way you kind of learn like the opposites, like child, adult, then elder and adolescent. So they reflect the polar extremes of each other. So when we go into the north, that's kind of where you are your healer, and that's when you are most in your spirit. Like the spirit is the the spirit is symbolic for the elder. The spirit animal for the north is the bison. So the herb or the plant medicine is sweetgrass. So sweetgrass looks like this. This is sweetgrass. So usually you have sweetgrass braided. You can keep it around an area you would like, like a study area, somewhere you would like something very calm. And you can also burn sweetgrass, and it's a protective herb. So that's kind of like the circle of the dream catcher and the web. So on the outside, the outer web is what is representative of the world. Then when you go a little bit closer, it's community, then family, then self. Now, in a dream catcher, the self needs to be like a blank space because it also represents void. So no matter how much you try and fill yourself with the things you want, you can't fill void. And if you just focus on yourself the whole time, it will start to corrupt the whole web of life. So that's why it's important to focus on your family and community and animals and the circle of life on the outer edge. So I'll just quickly bring this dream catcher to show you. So if you look at this dream catcher over here, I've got this as the outer hoop is symbolic for the circle of life. Then this white part of the web is what I've got to symbolize community, then family, and then self being like the void. So in the legend of the dreamcatcher, the hole in the center of the dreamcatcher is where the spider would come through, as in like, I'm going to be careful with the words I use here because I know when you put stuff on the internet people take it very literally, but it's kind of like the portal of the legend of the Spider Woman. She would travel through the hoop's hole in the dreamcatcher. But I'm just speaking very loosely in terms of that now. That is just a legend. Okay. So then on the bottom of this dreamcatcher's, the dreamcatcher medicine, I've got 7 different feathers. Now, on a traditional dreamcatcher, you just have one feather, and that hangs from the middle of the web's hole. Usually the hole's a bit smaller, and there'll just be one feather that dangles down from that. A feather represents many different teachings, so I've decided in this diagram to put the 7 sacred teachings, or the 7 grandfather truths, around the bottom, just so we can visually show the teachings a little bit easier. So the 7 teachings or the 7 grandfather teachings. So the 7 grandfather teachings are humility, truth, wisdom, love, honor, respect, and courage. So those are kind of the things that you need to use in your everyday life and what your dreamcatcher's feathers should represent. So when you go into actually making a dreamcatcher, these components can be made out of a whole bunch of different things. So the feathers can be made from different breeds of birds, and they will have different symbolism and they can have different colors. And usually with the dreamcatchers, the way they were traditionally made is also you need to represent each side of what the world is. So like what the world is: water, fire, sea, sky, and all that. So that would be the sky aspect in the feathers. So this is kind of just like the way I've summarized my thoughts into a picture on how you can use dreamcatcher medicine in your practicing, and it gives a really good basis of where I start to make a dreamcatcher, because each dreamcatcher that I make isn't just for the way it looks, it's for what I want it to represent. So a lot of the times, like if I put a crystal on the hoop of a dreamcatcher, I will make sure that if it's for bringing light to a certain part of someone's life, that it's in the right area that coincides with the Native American teachings. So there's a lot of thought that goes into a dreamcatcher, but I found that having this basic understanding of the different teachings all combined into a dreamcatcher, it gives you a really good idea of how to use that dreamcatcher medicine. Excuse me, I'm losing my voice. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Drop down a comment below if you found this useful or if you have any questions. Again, this isn't like a textbook thing. This is just the way I have used dreamcatcher medicine and how I've translated like my teachings and my thoughts into a visual representation. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I will see you in the next video. Bye!